Good afternoon, everybody, and we are live. Welcome to the ECOM Inner Circle live every Tuesday afternoon at 1 p.m. Hi, Matt, back from your travels and with a clean and tidy warehouse.
Well, I know, yeah.
I'm sure it's always clean.
It is clean. It's just not always as tidy. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, I'm going to jump in on the comments. I realised we had a chat last week, and I just realised I spent the whole episode just talking, so you're going to hear a lot less from me.
It was the fact you said. Oh, you said before we came on. Oh, I've got a really bad voice. I'm not going to talk much today. And then you spoke more than ever.
It must have been something, when you go out of your way not to do something and you end up doing it even more.
The opposite.
It must have been psychological. So I'm going to be in charge of, saying hi to everyone and, and talking. So Jamie's joined us, always first on the ball. Afternoon. Hi, Phil. Hi, Yvonne. Hi, Andrew. Hope everyone is well. Just let us know if you can see and hear us okay. And obviously just let us know your feels. How are things at the moment? I appreciate that it's, for a lot of people, sales have been down across the board, but I think it's definitely, it's been the Jubilee impact.
Someone's turned my sales on in June.
Yeah. Well, yeah, apart from Matthew. But we talk a lot about your strategy in that. It's very different to everyone else's, I think. So it's hardly surprising. So thank you, Andrew, just confirming that you can see and hear us. Yeah, thanks for that. Comments are a little bit slow on the phone today, this afternoon. I still don't think I've got used to, never mind the buy box being in the afternoon.
How long have we been doing this for? Like 2 months, 3 months now?
I know. Oh, it's John. Thanks, John. Thanks for confirming that. Guys, if you can just pop a comment on or send a like or a love, just to let everyone know that, send out the notification that we are live. And just let us know how you're getting on. I think, like I said, I've talked about this a couple of times already this week to a few different people. It was such a good opportunity last week. Half term for most people taking 3 days to 3 days holiday to get a week off of work. It just felt like the whole country was on holiday last week.
Yeah, we were saying that it was pointless of turning up. I don't know why I bothered even opening last week. Like, in terms of there was nothing going on, there was nobody here, it was just a waste of time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what have we got here? We've got, my comments are really delayed for some reason, so I can't see anything. I'm going to try and get them up on my other computer. 2 seconds. But how was your trip? How was your RA trip? Because again, I feel this is
good.
It looked amazing. I feel that this is a new concept to a lot of people, especially, and this was always what this group was about, bringing new concepts to things. And I find what was really interesting, because when we first started selling on Amazon, essentially what you do is part of your business. It's not your full strategy. Like you said, there's a couple of ways you look at it. But what always appealed to me was, in America, that's quite a common strategy, in the sense that people kind of travel around doing RA as they go. And one of the first YouTube videos I ever saw relating to selling on Amazon was a guy that used to travel around in hotel rooms, and he lived an RA lifestyle, just, doing RA, traveling the country, staying in hotels, having his purchases, paying for his business, so it's not a new concept to me, but yeah, I've not really seen anyone doing it in here, really.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been one for traveling. I've always liked traveling and seeing new places. So it's definitely appeals to me. And like I say, with RA, it kind of splits up into two very distinct categories. There's the social side of it, which is where me and my wife and Monty the dog, we go away, and we'll go away for 3 or 4 days, and we'll stay in a 4-star spa hotel, and we'll have a steak dinner, and we'll hit a few shops on the way, and it'll pay for itself, and we'll make a bit of profit on top. So basically, we went to Scotland, and I got paid. If I look at it this way, I got paid $2.5 grand to spend 4 days in Scotland and go to the Cairngorms and drink whiskey, and that's how I look at it. But then there is another side that that for me was a good, I would say that was an average trip in terms of returns. That wasn't a particularly good trip. It wasn't a particularly bad trip. It was sort of an average social trip. There's also the other side, is where we have very serious RA, where we will be almost against the clock, and we'll be hitting as many stores as physically possible. We'll probably be out at 7 a.m. We won't get back till 10 o'clock at night. That'll be when there's a big liquidation sale on, or there's a big sale on, and we'll do 50 grand in 2 days kind of thing. That's in the van, Sterling Travel Lodges. So there's kind of two different sides to it. But like I say, we're doing a lot more social stuff at the moment. I think because there's a lot, the RA stuff is still there, but there's less stock available. So a lot of RAs become more sociable. Plus, after 2 years in lockdown, we're quite keen to travel and get out as much as possible. So we were discussing this on the way back from Scotland. There's only one city in the UK we haven't visited, which is Inverness. It's the only city in the UK I have not been to.
That is crazy. And I know we had this conversation when we met up in London a few months ago. And I think at the time you were saying that there was 3 cities. So you've obviously knocked off a couple more since then.
Knocked a couple off, yeah.
So if there's just one left, I mean, why wouldn't you just jump in the car and go and do it for the weekend? Or do you like the fact that there's still one left?
I like the ideas, but it's a long way, Inverness. It's a long way.
Is that like
north of Scotland? So for us as a drive, it's about 7 hours.
Wow. See, if you
so think for you, it would be a long time.
I wouldn't make it. You know, you see these things in like Game of Thrones when they start out on the journey and they get their head chopped off along the way. That's what would happen. I just wouldn't make it that far north. I wouldn't at all. I would just I would fly there, obviously, you know, that type of thing. But me and Matt in a car for 12 hours, I just don't know if that will work. Paulina says Inverness is beautiful.
It's on the list. It's on the to-do list. It's just always been, because it's quite isolated as well. So it's like, because if you get, obviously, I don't know how well you know Scotland, but Scotland is actually a very small country in terms of the majority of things, sort of Glasgow, Edinburgh, Stirling, Falkirk, kind of Perth to Dundee even is kind of all within an hour. And then you just kind of got Inverness, which is right at the top, which is just hours and hours from anywhere. Yeah.
I see. I think it's, I love what you guys do and how you do, and you put such a different spin on it. And I'm pretty sure, let me know if in the comments, I know that the posts over the weekend that you did highlighting this, that would actually appeal to a lot of people, because I know, and it was interesting, I can't remember who put this, Philip Dyke earlier put in Flad's group earlier, put about, you know, people buying different courses and, you know, for their different areas in their business. And I think it was Mike in the group that actually put a comment on that said, you know, courses are fine and whatever and that type of thing, but I actually signed up for a course that was promoting a laptop lifestyle, and I've realised I don't want a laptop lifestyle kind of thing, and which is so true, because I don't want a laptop lifestyle, because
no, I don't.
I think you've got to be a specific type of person to have that laptop lifestyle. But again, the same people that might not appeal to a laptop lifestyle might be quite interested in how and what you do in that way, because like you said, it gets you out and about. It's never going to appeal to everybody, but it's a unique way of doing it. And I think that's what people appreciate, having that, you know, having that opportunity to be shown it and have their eyes open to it a little bit. Because if you can go away for a nice weekend and stay in some hotels, and, you know, it's not going to suit people if you've got a newborn baby, or it's not going to, actually, it might if you've got a newborn baby, but if you've got 3 kids under 5 or something like that, it's probably not going to work.
Not going to work. No, it's very much a couple's kind of game, I would say. I think it works best either on your own or as a couple, because you kind of both get into it a little bit. You kind of stop off at different places, and you can do as much or as little as you want with it. So, you know, you can literally just be like, your objective might be, I want to cover my expenses, you know, which I did in the first shop, you know, or first 2 shops. So I could go to 2 places, on the way up, and I've covered my expenses, and then I've got a free weekend if that's the way you want to look at it. Or you can keep going, and you can make your profit can be as much or as little as you want to make it. Now, I mean, I've got a lot of very good strategies. I think someone asked me in the comments, you know, do you scan stuff? And the answer to that question is no. I know exactly what I'm getting before I even leave, before I even get in the car. So before I even, if you'd have asked me how much will you make this week, and I said I will make about £2,000 profit before I even get in the car, because I know exactly what I'm getting and where I'm getting it from, and I plan my route around that and kind of go, right, well, this is where the stuff is, so we'll visit here because this is nearby and this is nice, and you know, and again, I could have made more money by cutting my expenses. If I'd have stayed in a travel lodge, it probably would have been sort of 50, 75 quid, but we went for a 4-star hotel and we spent 100 quid on a steak dinner, because we want to enjoy it, you know. It's got to be but it's different strokes, different folks, you know. You can spend as much or as little as you want, you know, as whatever works for you.
Well, I've met you and Eloise a couple of times, and I know you like the nice things in life. So
we do.
Definitely. Guys, there's something going on with comments, so I can't see everyone's today. So I'm really, really sorry if I bypass yours. Lots of people saying hello. So good afternoon, everyone. Summer season sales slowing down YM happens every summer. Yeah, absolutely. You know, we've talked about this. I'm not going to keep banging on about the same things, because we've got some very specific things, notably Lucid, EFN, selling in Europe, that we want to talk about today. And Andrew's just brought up a great question, which I'll come on in a moment, about the new NAF program in the US, which is very similar. It's like the US version of EFN, essentially, but slightly.
That's for like Canada and Mexico, is it?
Canada and Mexico, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, but yeah, so if I am missing your comments, I do apologize. There's one that's come in there, very expensive laptop lifestyle. I don't know who said it. Bills could be huge. Good afternoon. Again, it's not telling me who or what's saying it, so apologies if I do miss that. It's one of those things, you know, with a laptop lifestyle. I'll come back to Andrew's question in a moment. Is I always think that if you lived a true like nomad lifestyle, it would probably be cheaper. I read this article while I was, you know, doing really important stuff the other day while I was on holiday last week. You know, about this couple that live on a cruise ship now, because it's cheaper to live on a cruise ship than it is, you know, living. So it is something if you live that.
People do these relocation cruises, don't they? Where it goes from you know, a northern to southern hemisphere, and it's like a 4-month cruise, and it costs you like 500 quid, because it's just the ship's got to go there anyway. So, but not there's like less crew and less service. Absolutely.
Great question from Yvonne. I'm going to put it up there actually. So how long does it take for you to, you know, sell the stock that you collect from RA? Or is that as saying, you know, how long is a piece of string?
Yeah, it's not that. Yeah, to be fair, RA is very good because you, rather than, the problem with OA is obviously is underpricing, because of the restrictions in terms of geographical restrictions of RA. There's a lot less supply of stock. So when I put my sales figure up, I'm confident that I will be within 10% of that, and I will sell within 10% of that, because I don't, unless somebody else has happened to found a pocket of stock, perhaps in Cornwall or London or something. I know what stock's out there with this particular product and this particular price point, and I know that I've got most of it. So I know that nobody's going to undercut me unless by chance that there's somewhere else that they have it. So generally speaking, RA stock sells pretty much for what I expect it to, and generally very quickly. So yeah, RA is the biggest profit in our business, but the problem is the amount of it is not as good as there is wholesale. It's just a simple fact. I can get pallets and pallets of wholesale. I could perhaps fill a van in a week. You know, it's just not the same level, but there's more margin and more consistency.
Yeah, definitely. Right, the comments are coming in now. I can see who's saying. Johnny Smith says afternoon. Nicola says afternoon. It was Sean that said about the laptop lifestyle. So there we go. So let's go back to Andrew's question really before we kick off and start talking about Lucid. It always sounds like I'm talking about some sort of like psychotic episode.
Yeah, it is,
doesn't it? When you say, right, let's talk about Lucid, like we're going to go into like a medical kind of talk about it. But yeah, we'll talk about that in a moment. So Andrew said a question about sellingon.com. What are your thoughts about the new NARF program? Now, I'll be honest, I don't know if it's called NARF or NARF. I don't know how it's pronounced. But essentially, it is like EFN for USA, which is something I've got to be honest. I thought that they had already done. And when we sell in the US, we also sell separately in Canada. But actually, they're treated as completely different countries because they are completely different countries. And I actually think this is going to be really good for the US sellers, because they've never had access to a kind of easier system. When you sell on Canada, you have to create a completely new listing. You have to send stock over the border. It's, you know, we have to export from the US to Canada. It's incredibly expensive. Apparently, the Canadian-American border is one of the tightest in the world in terms of, you know, restrictions and import problems and that type of thing. The prep center we used when we said we were going to start selling in Canada, they were like, oh, you know, like it was very much a case of, and what I should tell you the price difference actually. So on average, it costs about $1 a unit to take into account each one of our units to send them in. It's definitely more expensive than it is in the UK. So it's about $1 the unit. To send the goods from America to Canada, to send them in, it goes up to about $6 a unit to take into account the shipping costs, potential import, you know, paying the prep center obviously to handle any type of inquiries or anything like that. So it's about 5 or 6 times the cost. Now, obviously, with this new program, that's not going to magically disappear, in the sense that it's still going to be expensive to send the goods over the border. So if you think about it, I'd imagine, I haven't seen it in person, but I'd imagine it's very similar to Build International Listings in how that it's going to be operating, that your product will display on the Canadian, you know, your root marketplace is the US, and then it will display on Mexico and Canada. And it will be under the same SKU or same FN SKU. And then if someone purchases it, it will be taken out of your inventory individually and sent. And a bit like, you know, with the iOS system, I'm assuming that Amazon will handle, you know, all of the paperwork and get it over the border with no issues. But again, I've not seen the fees yet, so I don't know if it's comparable to EFN. Is it comparable to the old EFN, or is it comparable to PAN? You know, I've not looked into it that much, to be perfectly honest, whether or not it's something. Yeah, I've not really looked into it that much, other than knowing its exposure to 2 huge markets. You know, Canada's a good market, so I think it will really, but again, it's just the size of the country, as the same with Mexico. That's why the costs are so much higher.
Yeah. Is there any kind of like free trade agreement between Canada and America, you know, well, North America, or is there any kind of agreements or anything that's to help facilitate this, or no?
I feel like I should know the answer to this, and
Put you on the spot.
no, I don't think it is. No, they must have a free trade agreement, but it's not. It's still quite complicated, you know, to get it over. I'm gonna have to check that. If anyone knows,
if anyone knows,
imagine that America wouldn't have free trade with Canada. I don't see why they wouldn't, unless that they felt that Canada would get so much more out of the relationship, because what are Canada's exports? Maple syrup, you know, and yeah, maybe it's too weighted in favor of Canada. I don't know. That's what I need to know. So if anyone knows, you know, that would be interesting to let us know. Comments have gone off again, so I'm going to have to go back. Somebody says, I love a good RA trip with the girlfriend. She gets the bug and starts asking, what about that store? Should we look there? Absolutely. RA is cheaper than OA, but you might only get 20 RA and you could get 99 OA, for example. Clearances are good. That's how I started off whilst holding on to my job 4 years ago. I think that might be Sean. But yeah, I love RA in principle. I absolutely love RA. It's so much funner than OA as well.
Yeah. It's less frustrating because you don't get penny reprice, penny under prices because
as much.
Probably as much. I mean, it can happen, but generally speaking, the funny thing is as well is when you do RA and you focus on specific stores, you'll find that there's a certain sellers are always on the same listings. There's only usually, like, I think there's a particular retailer I think there's 3 of us I know of that do it, and I know where they are, and I leave them to it. That's another good advantage as well, is that there's a guy that competes against me at one retailer, and he's based in near Kent. I know he's based in Kent because I've looked him up. So I go, right, well, you can have Kent. I won't bother going there because what's the point? I'll just go everywhere else.
Somebody has said it's called NAFTA. It's the North America Free Trade Agreement from 1994, has now replaced the United States, Mexico, Canada Agreement for 2020. So yes, they obviously do have some sort of free trade.
Which is potentially why this has come in then, if they've got a free trade agreement between Canada and Mexico.
Potentially, I suppose what I was thinking about, a free trade agreement doesn't, there's still borders. The thing is, because we had it so good for such a long period of time with Europe, where we were one unit, essentially, we didn't have to worry about borders. We didn't have to worry about passport controls, all these different
and currencies as well. That's another thing. You've got 3 currencies there, whereas in Europe, you only technically, I know we have our own currency, but you can sell anywhere in Europe, pretty much in the euro.
Yeah,
the majority of the eurozone.
Exactly, but a free trade agreement doesn't mean that you can just ship whatever you want when you want it. Canada will still have restrictions, as will Mexico, what can or can't come into the country. So yeah, that's free trade doesn't mean that it just passes over the border automatically. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it, Andrew. I don't claim to know everything about it, but I don't know if I don't think we'll change anything. I think we're still I think we will still continue to send the goods into Canada because it's no secret we have a very high margin product, so we can absorb that margin. And to be perfectly honest, it's better to have them on separate listings, separate ratings, that type of thing, because obviously if our Canadian audience doesn't like the particular product or whatever, it could impact on the sales that are made in the US. So I think we will continue to keep it separately, but I can see the massive benefits, predominantly for US sellers being able to more easily be able to sell into those and have exposure in those markets. Definitely.
Yeah, it's a great test as well. That's one of the benefits of EFN is if you've got private label, you can dip your toes in the water without any real investment. Because I imagine setting up in Canada, as is setting up in Germany, is an investment. You have to invest in registrations and compliance. Whereas if you just do across the border, you're only paying when somebody actually places an order.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I can see the benefits of it, and I can see some people are going to do phenomenally well with it. So one of those that we'll watch and see how people get on with it, definitely. Because I think more and more people are starting to sell in the US now. It's becoming definitely more of a global opportunity for people, to not just sell in the UK, but then to transfer into the US. And then when you're in the US, to then have exposure to Canada and Mexico as well. It's like, literally, why wouldn't you if the option's there? Yeah. And Amazon's prepared to do the hard work, providing you can absorb it in your margins. I don't see any reason why not. Yeah. Online Luke's joined us. Hi Luke, hope you're well. Johnny, I don't get my bills cheaper moving anywhere else, mate. I live within my means, only pay. Sorry, that's a bit like chit chat.
I think that's to do with the laptop lifestyle. People say.
Oh, okay. Right, I see. Okay.
Chiang Mai, you get to cut your living costs by as much as a quarter.
Well, it's part of the reason why we're starting, or in the process of selling in the US from an arbitrage point of view, because we've made it very clear at some point, we want to spend a certain amount of time in the US, and it just absolutely makes sense to have that type of business. When we're over in Walmart, when we're over there, we were like, oh my God, imagine if we could just take this stuff back to the hotel, stick it on a box and like send it off, while we're there. So to have that type of business, to be able to do it and spend extended periods of time, because I'm not someone, I couldn't move over to somewhere and just lay on a beach for 3 months. To be able to do something in addition to that is, definitely a big dream for us. So yeah, that's why we're starting that. And, to have that option to sell in different countries, again, makes the opportunity even bigger the way that I see it.
Yeah, you could buy a house in Florida and then in the local Walmarts, get a big garage. That could be like your little base, little prep base.
Exactly. Well, I keep flip-flopping on that. Do I want the responsibility of a house if we're only going to be over there 3 months at a time? Because we'd never go after residency, I don't think.
Rent it out though, wouldn't you?
Yes, but nightmare tenants, getting cleaners in, that type of thing. I'm never going to say never, but when we're in a position to do it, that's when we look at it. But I like hotels.
I like it. Yeah, it's easy, isn't it? That's the thing. Because I know someone said to me, why do you get a camper van? I'm like, because the hotel's easy. You rock up, you stay, and you go, and you're on with your day, and you focus on your RA. You're not focused on camping and
absolutely
camper van and all that.
I like traveling different, staying in different hotels, different places, that type of thing. So that really appeals to me. Not traveling, and I'm not a traveler, but I like exposure to different, situations. That's the way that I see it. Right, let's talk about lucid. Let's get lucid. Let's talk about that. So Matt's going to talk about that a little bit. And so has anybody gone through the process of lucid yet? So I suppose the simplest ways, because I think I've never seen something asked about so much in different groups across the board, and everyone's like, right, what's this? And just like there's crickets, because like no one really knows what it is.
This is the thing, it's come very much out of nowhere, I would say. And I think a lot of people don't know anything about it, including I said, just a bit of a disclaimer on this. I'm not an expert, so apologies if anything I say is not correct. It's just from what I have gathered from my experience, which hopefully should guide you a little bit more in the right direction. But it seems to come very left field. It seems to be quite. People are trying to. I think some people are saying it's not a lot of work, but from what I've seen, it actually is quite a lot of work. Certainly for non-private labelers, because you have to declare packaging weights and things. So it's a bit left field.
So if you could, and I think that's important to say, obviously, because Matt's going to talk about it from going through the process, as opposed to been out, been through it, come out of it the other side, know what was right, knows what was wrong, so you're going to talk about it now. And I know that you're intending to put some information together, but it was going to be once you'd been through the full process. So yeah, obviously, like I said, it's still very much a learning process and something that you're doing as you go through. So it's like over the shoulder guys on this. So yeah, Matthew can only give his experience. But for anyone that doesn't know what it is, including myself, I know what it is, but what is it? I still don't really know what it is.
So basically, it's been launched in France and Germany. Essentially, it's called Extended Producer Responsibility. So as people who produce, I know we don't, as resellers, produce, but technically we are part of the supply chain. Therefore, we have responsibility. We produce environmental damage. Now, in this particular instance, this is going to form of packaging, because we sell physical products that come in packaging which cause environmental damage. Now, the theory behind this system is that we therefore have to pay a contribution to the government, who are then going to use that money in order to help. I don't know exactly how they're going to use the money, but you have to pay a contribution to therefore help use the money to help clean up the environment. That's the theory behind it. Now, you have to register for this system and you have to declare how much. So it's fair, because I guess it would be easier if they said everybody has to pay XYZ amount, but then that wouldn't be fair, because some people would produce huge amounts of environmental damage while others may not. If you're selling tiny little things in little cardboard boxes that's 100% recyclable, your probable environmental damage is tiny compared to somebody who's supplying alkaline, but acid batteries. That's a huge environmental issue. So the idea is that you have to therefore register. You have to fill in forms to say how much you're producing, and therefore you have to pay a fee based on the amount of environmental damage you cause, which is then theoretically going to be used to clean up the damage you cause. So this is in Germany and France, and it's going to be mandated from the 1st of July. But Amazon has set a deadline of, I think it's the 15th of June, to have your compliance in place.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Mind blown.
Now, obviously, anyone that's selling EFN. Now, this is how I understand it. And again, I know this is really conflicting. Is that for anyone that's EFN, it doesn't affect them because you've got to be VAT registered in the country anyway. But then I've heard some people saying that actually, no, that's not the case.
So this is where it's very unclear. So in order to register for Lucid, you have to, on the form, you have to put your German tax for VAT number. That's to complete the form. You have to put the tax number on. But there's nowhere in the legislation that says you have to be VAT registered to fill in Lucid. I don't know if it's just early stages and they're going to maybe, because I'm kind of hoping as well that there's going to be an exemption for certain. Maybe if you're not VAT registered, you're considered to be too small. I don't know. But the requirements of it are if you sell products to customers in Germany and the end user is in Germany, you have to register, which would include EFN.
So it will include EFN. Yeah.
Because the rule is if you're selling goods to consumers in Germany, which EFN obviously does, but obviously a lot of people don't have tax registrations. Again, another question is there going to be any actual impact on sellers if you don't comply with this? I don't know. It's very unclear what action Amazon's going to take. Amazon say they may take action. What does that look like? Are they going to start suspending accounts? Are they going to start closing listings? Or are they just going to have a yellow warning? Because what I've noticed, the extended the responsible persons, there's been no kind of real enforcement on that. So it might just be like a thing that says, "Have you got your Lucid number sorted?" It just stays up forever. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where they're going to go with it.
I think it's one of those things that Amazon tend to, when something like this happens, and they did it with the invoices and stuff like that, when you had to issue invoices, okay, big change for everyone. And then they make it clear that, it's not going to have any impact on account health. And then once everyone's got on board and they start doing it, they say, right, we're going to bring this in as a metric now. So if you don't do this, it could be a suspensional offence. That could still yet happen with the responsible person. It could happen with this Lucid situation. So just for anyone that's watching, because like I said, I know it's something, this is enforceable from the 1st of July, guys. So if you are selling in Europe, it is something you're probably going to have to deal with it. So I'm curious to know, is there anyone that's watching that has tried to fill out the form that is not registered for VAT in Germany or France? Because that would be interesting. Is it something you just can't proceed, or do you put NA, or, like you said, the difference between what Amazon is saying you can and can't do is different from what the law is. And what's going to be the blowback? Because obviously the reason why EFN 2.0 got kind of re-released is because Amazon took responsibility and used the iOS system to be able to get it back up and running again. Well, is that going to be what it's going to hit? Is Amazon going to collect that fee on behalf of non-VAT registered client? It's possible that they haven't even made that decision yet.
No, the big problem as well is, so how we're doing it now. There's two ways to do it. You can either register yourself, or you can pay someone to do it. Now we paid someone to do it. It wasn't worth my time to try and learn the forms. So I believe the registration process is probably not that complicated, but obviously all the forms will be in German. So you're going to have to get your head around that, because that was another concern for me. Is I didn't my French and German isn't spot on, so I don't really want to fill forms and I don't really understand. And the problem with Google Translate as well is it doesn't necessarily word it correctly. So that was why we've outsourced it. But how it works is when you register, you kind of have to, what you do is you make a payment on account. So you estimate what your environmental damage will be essentially. This is measured by the weight of cardboard and plastic in the products you sell, and any batteries in the products you sell. You then make a payment. What happens is a year later, you then file basically a return that says, we sold this much product, the cardboard weighed this much and the plastic weighed this much, and then you either get a refund or you make a payment based on your. The problem, of course, for EFN is you don't know what you're going to sell. Like, as a pan-EU seller, I know if I send a box of goods to Germany, they're going to sell in Germany. So I can estimate what I'm going to sell in Germany. But for pan-EU, you don't know what you're going to sell in Germany. So you could potentially go through all this process and maybe not even sell a single thing in Germany. So this is where it's a real big question mark for EFN people is, and of course there's costs involved. I'm paying a £50 registration fee and £50 registration fee and £120 for the filing. So for me, it's not a big amount of money. Where it's at about 10 quid a month, plus obviously the contributions, which I've been told will probably be about £30 for my business. So the costs are very minimal, but there's additional costs involved, and you could be potentially paying out nearly 200 quid and not even sell a single thing in Germany.
Wow. Okay. So what you're saying is that you could estimate the cost, and if it doesn't even sell there, you've paid it anyway.
Yeah, you get a refund. So you pay, you make an assessment of what you think you're going to need to contribute. You then pay that, and then what happens is you file later on in the year, and then they will then either refund you what you've overpaid or charge you the difference for what you've underpaid.
Wow. That's crazy, isn't it?
If I can share this with you, let me see if it'll work. I don't know if it will. Might let me share my screen. Just a second. Yeah, I'm going to show you the form.
Just while you're doing that, let me go back to the comments, because Johnny kindly has said that he has tried his non-VAT registration in EU at the moment, going through the process. And the form will not let you proceed. So it's a little bit like
Amazon. It won't let you proceed.
Yeah, Amazon's only allowing VAT registration at the moment. So I think the important point is, like Matthew quite rightly said, from a law point of view, it doesn't matter if you're VAT registered or non-VAT registered, but it's like Amazon's only allowing VAT registered at the moment.
Oh, there we go. Look at that. How good's that? So this is the form that you need to fill in for every single product you sell. So you need to basically put in the product name, the country. The big problem is you have to declare basically the packaging. So basically what the material of the packaging is. So if I put my products in here, I then have to put what the cardboard weight, the plastic weight, and I then have to put the weight of the packaging. And then I have to estimate how many units I'm going to sell. So let's say, for example, I don't know, let's put a Lego toy. I don't know, whatever it is. Is that typing? Yeah, let me type. Oh, it's not letting me type. Yeah, it's not letting me type in there for some reason. But anyways, I put a Lego toy in. Basically, I then have to declare, what the materials are, the weight of the packaging, and how many units I'm going to sell in a year. So bit of a big ask, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot. But again, it's one of those things. I mean, I'll always try and look on the positive where I can. It's another barrier to entry, in the sense that if you are prepared to do that and you are in a position, surely this is going to reduce down competition again.
On a positive, as there's always a positive to everything, it's going to reduce competition, which means your margins in Germany are going to go up.
Yeah, they're going to go.
Why I'm doing it.
Yeah,
but it's more work.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that obviously, if you are with a prep center, you're going to have to fill that out. You can't expect the prep center to fill that out. So, but then if you use a prep center only, I know certainly from the time when we had our prep center, I don't think we would have been prepared to weigh packaging and do this and do that. So it's going to be something that, this is only going to, it's certainly, which we all, let's face it, when you want to sell in Europe, the one you want to sell in is Germany, and followed by France. So if both of those markets, it's going to make, it's going to wipe a lot of people out of the game.
Yeah. Even if Brexit hadn't happened, I think this would have wiped people out, because it's so difficult. It's so difficult to work out what you're going to sell before you sell it. And then not only that, you've got to weigh the packaging. That's a massive undertaking. You know, you don't know what the packaging is going to weigh. And it's to the point of you've got to say, so if there's plastic inside the box, you've got to say how heavy the plastic is inside the box, how heavy the cardboard is in the box, and then times that by the number of units sold, and then pay your contribution based on that.
Yeah. And the thing is, I hate being the bearer of bad news, but I know it's something that people have been really excited about, getting EFN back into their, you know, businesses again, because I know lots of people have been really, you know, seeing margins dramatically increase with bringing that, you know, back into their business. Yes, it's a lot of faff. Yes, the fees are higher. We're all aware of that. But, you know, if you know what you're doing, you can make those fees work. There's definitely less competition. This is definitely something, like I said, it's going to wipe, you know, a big percentage of people out again. The comment there at the bottom, again, comments are playing up. Sorry, I can't tell who it is. Surely that's going back to importing before EFN was switched back on. If it's not possible to do all of this as an ARB seller, you either switch it off or allow Amazon to suppress the listings.
Yeah. Yeah. Realistically, I've just seen Yvonne's comment there. She said, "Do you need to register separately for France and Germany?" The answer is yes. You have to register. Yeah. I don't sell in France, so I don't know if you have to again have VAT registration for France. I've only registered in Germany, so I don't know about France, but I imagine the process is the same. I don't know if Johnny's done France. If Johnny can confirm if you have to have a VAT registration in France, but certainly for Germany you do for the form.
Yeah, last comment at the bottom again. Sorry, I can't see who it is. It says EFN 35% of my sales right now. So, you know, presumably, it's one of those things that we talk about a lot of ifs and buts. We don't know what will happen once it clicks over. Like Matthew quite rightly said, what are the consequences? Are there going to be any consequences? Is it just going to be that yellow box, you know, on the system that you don't really have to do anything with? You know, we don't know. So I don't want anyone to think we're fear mongering or anything like that. But the reason we have these chats and discussions is to go through all of the options, and hopefully it's not going to be as bad as we think.
Yeah. So Andrew just commented, so really, if you're selling Lego, you have to open the box and weigh the plastic and the card and the paper. The correct answer to that is yes. Now, what we are doing, which is what I'm telling we're doing, is we're making an educated guess based on what we believe the packaging to be. So if we have, for example, if we have an open return of a case, for example, we will weigh that packaging and we will use that as a base for the rest of the products. We're not going to be opening every single product and weighing every single product and just potentially writing off one of every product just to weigh the box.
Well, let me just have a quick check on this, and then I can share my screen if we do it. Someone give me a. I'm just going to go into like Lego Star Wars. Now, they used to be on the listing. They used to have the weight of the product on the listing, and it would be in the back end of Seller Central, and the packaging weight, the total packaging weight. So it may well be that you might be able to find that information on the listing anyway. I'm just going to have a quick look.
Yeah. Again, any kind of SDS sheets, any kind of product information sheets will probably have this weight on there for you. So you'll probably be able to find it off there.
Yeah.
Again, it's like this is an awful lot of effort for one. I think for private label, if you've got 10 products, it makes sense to just open one, weigh the packaging. Probably already know what the packaging weight is. OA, RA, it's a bit of a nail in the coffin because it's another thing to do on top of all the other things to do.
Let me show you what I mean. Us sharing our screens today. Let me share my screen quick. Just quickly jump on over. Can you see that Lego?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if you go down on the listing, you can see, I'll just look see it on a different one. I'm gonna have to roll past it. Huh, it's weird. It's not showing on this format. Let me see where it was on. I think it was on. It was on my Helium 10 actually that it was showing.
Helium 10.
Yeah, it was showing on my Helium 10, but it should appear somewhere else in the listing because it's pretty standard. And if it's appearing in the listing and it's being pulled through, it automatically means it will be showing in Seller Central. So you will be able to go into Seller Central and have a look. But
it might be on the edit listing on the advanced properties, maybe under there somewhere.
Yeah, it would. That's exactly where it'll be. So hang on a sec. Just let me refresh the page and see if I just switch my. Not like a million different softwares running at once, but it was on the Helium 10 graph that it showed, and it actually showed the difference between item weight and package weight.
That would be helpful. I've just seen a comment coming. Surely manufacturers should submit this information for every product. Now, I think you know how the country of origin has been added to the list, and I think that what will happen longer term is that Amazon will, when you list a product, will ask for this information, and they may set some sort of system up where they will basically work it out for you and then remit it to the German government or the French government on your behalf. That would be my hope, in the same way that they've managed to get EFN back by paying the VAT over on your behalf. It wouldn't surprise me if Amazon sets some sort of system up that they can therefore, use this information and do it on your behalf. But realistically, that's, if you look at the timelines for EFN, it's going to be over a year away.
Yeah, there we go. So there's the information. I just had to wait for it to load because my internet is like ridiculously slow. So you can see here, this is on the Helium 10 chart. And obviously, you don't need to sign up to Helium 10 just to get this. It just so happened that the information is here. We can see the item weight, which is 0.5 kilos, and then the package weight. So if that was me, to be perfectly honest, I would just find that information in Seller Central because it's a metric. It's an attribute that has to be filled in. Yeah, definitely, you can't create a listing without putting this information in. So in most cases, if you have Helium 10, brilliant, it will show here. If not, you will be able to just go into the list, into the advanced information under inventory. So when you scroll across to the right hand side and it said edit, if you hit that, it will take you into the information of the listing. And if you hit the advanced tab, then it should be under there.
Yeah.
And we're back. Okay.
Cool.
Well, and if you are going to go out and sign up to Helium 10, make sure you drop me a message and get my affiliate link. But you don't need to. But again, that would definitely be something I can mention to Holly and the team at BuyBook Pro, because if that is going to be something that's going to make a massive difference, then I'm sure, the guys at BuyBook Pro can hopefully put that. I will say, yeah, I'm sure they can put it in. What it sounds like is a really easy job is probably takes their developers 2 weeks to change like one thing on there or something. So yeah, if it is going to become a big thing, but like I said, this is something we don't know what's going to happen. We've got to see how it plays out. It might well be it just pushes people out of the game.
Because I've just seen a comment. I don't know the answer to this, as I was wondering this myself. But if you were doing EFN, how on earth would you know how big, heavy the parcel is that Amazon are going to send it in, and the weight of all the padding that's in, if any's used at all? No clue.
I think I honestly think it's going to be one of those things. And when something's new and we're all talking about it, you think, oh, I've got to abide by the letter of the law. But literally, if that was me, what I will be doing, what I would be doing is doing exactly what I've just showed you. I wouldn't be weighing anything. I would be saying, and if it ever came back, I say, well, that's displayed on your product page on Amazon.
Yeah.
I got that information from, your product page. So that's, that's.
And I mean, another thing is how is anyone ever going to prove that the item you sent to that customer didn't weigh that much? So if it's absolutely crazy, that would make sense. But
yeah.
But because you could say, well, this particular product wasn't retail boxed. Because another thing, what if it's not retail boxed? we're assuming it's retail box. What if you're selling products that are you've repackaged or you've bundled and things like that? So I think
Stop thinking of problems, Matthew.
I think what would have made sense from their perspective would be to put a percentage charge in on your turnover, but then that's probably not been done because that's not fair.
No,
because what you sell in pounds and pence or euros and cents is not the same as your environmental damage. And any way to do it is to make it this ridiculously complicated.
Yeah. I think the thing is, and like you said, I think overall in the grand scheme of things, I think it's going to be something that, providing there was an easy way to do it and you can get through it and you didn't have to be PAN registered and things like that. They've already said your contributions are going to be like 30 quid. So it's not going to be game changing.
They said for me, they said it would be 1 to 2 cents per order. They said it would be.
It's not going to be game changing financially. So at the end of the day, even if you end up paying 30 quid, and, you know, when Avast or whoever does your tax return, presumably this is something they're going to add into their service.
This is it. I'm using Avast for it.
Yeah. So, you know, Avast or what's the other one called? Begins with A.
Don't know. Gone.
Whoever the Amazon, there's like 4 big ones on Amazon that they recommend. Avast is, you know, obviously one of them. It's going to annoy me now. Anyway, someone will say, someone rescue me with saying, who am I thinking of? I can't think of their name. So, you know, financially, this isn't going to wipe anyone out. Even if you end up not selling it and having to claim it back, you know, it's not going to be massive contributions. That's it. Avalara or Avalar or whatever they're called. Yes. Thank you, Paulina. So financially, it's not going to have a massive impact because margins are great in EFN at the moment. It's whether or not you can do it. So it may well be, and I'm really sorry, I don't know who made that comment. I might be able to go back and have a look about, you know, EFN being 35% of their business. Sorry, it didn't show me the name at the time. And now I can't see it. So it might well be, if it is 35% of your business, it might now be time, if this is only going to be suitable for that registration for the process, and it's going to wipe a lot of people out of the competition. For someone like yourself, whoever you are, I'm sorry, then it might well be now is the time to consider going down that VAT route, because 35% of your business, you know, that is validation that it's working for you.
This is the benefit of EFN, is you can try and test it out without any commitment. You know, try before you buy. Essentially, you can put your product on all these different marketplaces and see where someone bites. And if you found a little niche in, say, Germany or France, then go for it. Yeah. Go for it. Another thing as well, just with the Pan EU, you don't need to do the Pan EU thing. Since Brexit, Pan EU doesn't make as much sense as it used to. There used to be a system where you had to register for like 7 VAT countries, and they'd move all your stuff around. Just set up. If you're selling in France and France is your market, just register in France and keep it simple, because the more countries you add in, the more complex it becomes. Just do France. Just register in France and just ship to France, and don't mess about with all the other countries.
Yeah, definitely. So someone said, isn't the packaging weight you mentioned, Nassi, Amazon's own packaging, not the actual packaging of the product itself? Now, I've always taken it as it is, because I don't know how much it's going to weigh for Amazon. You know, I don't know.
Because surely, what if a customer orders 2 things?
Pardon?
Yeah, because what if a customer orders 2 items and they go in the same box?
Yeah,
so Amazon's packaging is going to be different for every order of the same product.
Certainly, when we have created our own product, we've always done it as weight of the product, and then weight of the product once it's in its final box, or once it's in its final, you know, dimensions or whatever. So that's how I've always understood it. But either way, even if it's not that, I wouldn't care. I'd just use it anyway, because it's just easier. Nobody is going to take products out individually and weigh the box. I mean, like you said, if you're a private label seller and you're selling 5,000 units of the same thing, yeah, you probably are going to take the time to do that. But you're not going to take 4 Barbie dolls out of the packaging. You're not going to take this out. You're not going to take that out. It's just something, you know, just, I think that's a good enough guide to be able to go on. And like we said, what are the consequences? How can they prove it? You know,
it's just a contribution. It's just a contribution. You're contributing to the environmental damage, and this the fairest way that I think I kind of agree with. I don't agree with the thing. I think it's a silly thing, but I think the way they have done it, I don't think I could think of a fairer way of doing it. I don't know how else you could do it in a fair way.
No. Someone's put, if the fees are so small, why not put an over large arbitrary number for every product to cover all eventualities?
But that's one option. Yeah, I mean, you're potentially overpaying. But yeah, it's
but yeah, why not? Or why not base it on turnover? As in, okay, 0 to 10,000 turnover in Germany, you pay £10. 10,000 to 20, you pay £20. You know, something like that. Yes, I appreciate that, but I think people would prepare to do that. Would be prepared to sacrifice that, as you know, Matthew, you're king of this statement. You know, it's time versus money at the end of the day. You know, would you prefer to potentially pay that little bit more and just?
Yeah, I would far rather just go, look, you turn over 10 grand a month in Germany, therefore you pay, I don't know, €10 a month. Fine, whatever, done. Easier doing that than it is. It's going to cost me more for somebody to sit and fill the spreadsheet out for a couple of items than it would ever do for me to pay €10.
Yeah, absolutely. The human cost and time and labour is going to be huge on this. So whoever has said that, I completely agree. But obviously, this is as well. Actually, for once, we can't even blame Amazon. This is a law. This is German and French law.
I'm unfortunately, I think this is going to be if it's deemed a success, it will be rolled out across the wider Europe. Because I know the UK is already going that way with the plastic.
Oh, are they?
Tax. Well, they've already got the plastic tax that came in recently. Oh. I know a lot of big companies, because it doesn't affect small companies, but big companies are still having to declare how much packaging's and how much plastic's in their products. I mean, the only hope is that they move it onto the manufacturers rather than the people in the supply chain, because they know what packaging they're using.
I've got really strong views about recycling. I'm not going to go into them here. It's a bit like, you know, Matt Webley and his robots. I feel the same way about like recycling and things like that. And I think stop putting the onus onto the end user. At the end of the day, they don't choose how that product is produced.
Yeah.
Do it at cost. How about the world? Let's stop producing plastic. How about that? You know, sorry, I'm going to start getting really angry about it.
Ranty again.
Yeah, I'm going to ranty Natalie, definitely. But, you know, that's me. Stop trying to tax the end user when the end user can do nothing about. Stop trying to guilt people into separating your bins and recycling when it's much easier to cut it off at the course. But no, because there's too much money involved. Too much money's being made, and it's easier just to slap it on at the, you know, at the end and say, well, actually, that process has gone through 10 suppliers in the supply chain. It's nothing to do with the plastic in reality. You know, think of all the fuel it's taken, and you know.
You're absolutely right. And at the end of the day, what happens if a consumer says, well, I'm not buying that product because there's too much waste on the packaging. So then the whole lot goes to landfill because nobody buys it. So whose responsibility is it really? Is it really the end user who wants the product and can't choose the packaging? And then, yes, they can make an active choice. That's their right to make an active choice not to buy that product because they deem that the product is too wasteful in its packaging. But then the whole lot ends up getting destroyed anyway because it could potentially go out of date because the packaging's too wasteful.
I just don't think we'll ever learn as a race, essentially, that prevention is always going to be better than the cure. And with something like that, just kind of, there's probably, you know, obviously I'm not a manufacturing expert, but, you know, is there any real need nowadays to produce plastic? You know, but, you know, we don't live in a world of endless resources, unfortunately. So it's literally, there's a manufacturing cost to anything. And unless you are someone, you know, I know people in my life that, you know, wash up wash up their tins in order to put them in the recycling. And I think, well, what impact has heating up your water done to wash it up, to put it in the recycling? You know, and I understand people do all the same, you know, things, but I think just get rid of it. I'm sure I would be quite happy to receive something without packaging, you know, if it meant.
And if you think the thing for me is the waste, because if a product, it really frustrates me if a product gets opened and the packaging gets damaged, then that product can't be sold as new, and sometimes gets completely destroyed because the packaging's damaged, even though the product's perfectly sellable. If everything came, you know, and nobody really cared about the packaging, then you could sell that product as new, even though it was new.
Yeah,
it's a big problem in our business. We have people open things and send them, sure it's the same for most people. They send them back, and that product. Sometimes we literally have to put it in the bin because it's not worth our time to sell that product now it's open.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's tragic, really. The product's perfectly fine, but we haven't got the time to create an entire new listing for one. For phone cases, for example, good example. They come in these like rip-off backs. And people open them. Oh, I bought the wrong size. Send it back, and it's like, well, that goes in the bin then, because we haven't got the time for somebody to spend 40 minutes creating a listing for a $9.99 phone case.
Yeah. Oh no, I know, and it's just so much waste. And I agree with you. It's the waste that annoys me more than anything else, you know. And I'm not saying that the pure, you know, the answer is just stop manufacturing, stop producing, because obviously, you know, manufacturing has an impact. It has an impact on anything. But what I don't like is the people that don't have the choice being, you know, it's not their choice. It is their choice to purchase. But a lot of the time, if you're doing it online, you don't know if you can't see, you can feel it. And order it online, it has to have a certain amount of packaging. But, you know, for it to come undamaged, it's an unsolvable problem. Sticking a tax on it
ain't gonna work.
Isn't going to work either. It's the worst. You know, it doesn't fix anything. That's what I'm trying to say in a really roundabout way. I don't agree with any of it, but what they're doing is that's not going to fix it.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, there we go. So yeah, I agree, Matthew. I do think it's something you'll probably see rolled out even more. And you know, we are living in a time where there just always seems to be something new, and this is why it's so important to have that, you know, evolutionary mindset on Amazon, because there's always something that's going on. So, you know, if you are going to be impacted by this, I would suggest now is the time that you really start looking into, you know, if you're dipping your toe in EFN, it works for you. I mean, EFN is always technically something that probably should be a temporary measure anyway. And I know that's what it was designed for originally. And do you remember when Amazon made the shift and they made EFN so much more expensive? They actually did that to try and force people off of EFN onto PAN. That's the reason they did it. I mean, because for anyone that's watching, who remembers the old EFN fees? I mean, they were amazing. The money you could make on that was just ridiculous. And then they doubled all the fees, and they made it. They actually said at the time, they said, "Look, we want people to move on to PAN."
And there's so many incentives on PAN. Like a few years ago, like when we signed up to PAN EU, we got a £5,000 grant from Amazon. They give us $5,000 for signing up, and they said they paid. So they said the 5,000 was. There was no, and they covered a certain amount of shipments. They give you a credit for your shipments for the first like 20 shipments were free, or 20 boxes were free, and they give you credit for that, and they give you £5,000 for registration, like cash in your Amazon account. $5,000 we got to cover all your setup costs.
Yeah, I think it's just because it's just a massive amount of ag for Amazon, isn't it? EFN, when you think about it, what they have to deal with for EFN. So they just don't really want people doing it. But at the same time, Jeff doesn't not want to be global. So it's a double-edged sword for them, I think, definitely. But presumably you'll keep us updated.
Yes, I will.
With the process.
I will.
So what are you also just waiting to be approved?
Yeah, apparently. So how it's being done is I mentioned there's 3 different things. Okay, so depending on what you sell, you may need to register for 3 different things, which is packaging, which is going to affect everybody. There's also consumer electronics, and there's also batteries. So if you sell either consumer electronics or batteries, there's additional fees and registration you have to do. I think it's for the same system, but you have to register for different things. And you have to declare like battery weights, and if your products are electronics, you have to do that as well. We've been told that they're focusing on packaging. And as far as I know from Amazon's perspective, as soon as you have your number, that is fine for them, and your listings won't be affected once you've actually registered and got your number. I think all kind of like the actual filings can come at a later date. The number generation, I've been told, is 2 to 3 days for most people, so it's pretty quick. But I'd get on it sooner rather than later, because the deadline from Amazon is the middle of June, even though the absolute deadline for is the 1st of July.
Be interesting to see what happens, whether or not people's listings will just go.
I think they will on the 1st of July. I think there'll be a bit of leeway between the 15th. I think there'll be get this done, get this done, get this done. And on the 1st of July, they will suppress listings for people who haven't met the compliance.
So I take it it's just the case if your European markets are connected, but you don't intend to sell in the European markets and you don't want to participate in Lucid, or you're unable to participate in Lucid, I take it it'd just be a case of going back into build international listing and disconnecting the marketplaces again.
Yeah, because the one thing that's not clear as well is obviously with VAT. So when you store, like when you move stuff to a country, that triggers a liability.
Yeah.
I don't know if when you make a sale, does that trigger a responsibility to make a declaration of your packaging? That's will be my big concern on EFN. I don't know if by completely out of your hands, if you happen to sell stuff to Germany, are you therefore now liable because you've made sales to Germany? I'm not clear on that at the moment. I don't know if anyone else has got any idea.
Right, okay, I've got you. So
because you see how you mean. So with VAT, once you move the stuff, then you have to register for VAT. That triggers a liability. I don't know if once you make a sale, that will therefore trigger a liability, or if you're just going to fly under the radar and there'll be nothing, no consequences. I don't know. It's not clear what will happen.
Sorry, guys, we don't have the full information at this stage, but hopefully the information that Matthew's, anyone that ask the question in the future, point them in the direction of this video over the next couple of weeks, because I think you've really cleared up what it is. I think a lot of people knew it was something to do with packaging, knew it was environmental consequences, but thank you for going through it, because like I said, it's the only question I've seen of late where everyone's like tumbleweeds whenever anyone's asked anything. So thank you for clearing that up. But yes, please bear with us and watch this space, because Matthew's going to update us as we go through and find out a little bit more. But unfortunately, we don't know what we don't know.
I think my advice to you, I would say, is either register if you're planning on doing it. If you're not planning on registering, I would, for the time being, turn off your listings in EFN for Germany and France, because I don't want people to be in a situation where the stuff sells and they have to then register because they've got themselves in that situation. It may be that there's no consequence and then we can turn these back on at a later date, but I would certainly play it safe and turn it off from sort of the middle of June when the regulation compliance comes in. It may be that Amazon will just shoot listings down anyway. I don't know.
Could you put that in a post and put it in the group a bit later on or tomorrow or something like that? So I think that's really sound advice. It's better to be safe than sorry with this. Yes, you might miss out on a few weeks' sales or something like that, but I think with this it's better, because I know exactly what you mean. And if you weren't around for the tax, your German tax certificates and declarations and things like that, it's one of those things that you might just be better off kind of absolving yourself from the information and adding the stuff back in later on once we know the full picture, as opposed to making yourself liable for something. And like I said, we're not here to fearmonger or scaremonger into anything. But I do think with laws and liabilities and things like that, you're almost better off being safe than sorry.
Yeah. I'd rather lose 2 weeks worth of EFN sales than potentially have a massive headache of getting letters. You could getting letters from the German tax authorities in German saying you owe us this much money, pay now, and all this. I don't know. I just don't know what they're going to do. I don't know I don't know the legality of it. I don't know how serious it is. I don't know what kind of action is going to be taken. It's not clear what this is. It could be, like I say, it could be very kind of casual, and you know, if you're not registered, you're not registered, and it doesn't really matter. Or it could be very serious, and they could be sending out legal demands for payment for your responsibility. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll post it in the group how to switch it off. So yeah, it's easier to show it visually than talk through it. So we'll post that in the group as well on how to switch that off. Don't worry. Oh, by the way, is it the same date and deadline for France as it is Germany?
Let me check. I think
because it would be the same turning off France. But I've heard more people talking about Germany, and it's appeared.
Let's have a look.
So just when you're double checking that. I was just saying if
not clear actually, because it says extended producer responsibility for Germany if you sell on Amazon.de, providing your Lucid number for packaging and non-compliant listings will be blocked from the 15th of June. Please ignore if Lucid has been provided. It doesn't say Amazon FR, it just says Amazon DE. So I know it's coming to France, but it doesn't appear to be. Yeah. Let me have a look on the internet.
Classic Google knows the answers to everything.
Classic Google, yeah.
Well, if anyone's got any other questions, let us know. But I think we'll kind of wrap it up now. But like I said, you know, if anyone's watching and you've seen someone asking about it, point them in the direction of this video. I do think, like I said, it's definitely some of the most information that I've seen anyone talking about it. And it just might, for the majority of people, you know, it's not going to have a huge impact, but for some of you it might. And for anyone that's asking, add them into the group, invite them into the group, and obviously they can watch the replay and any subsequent information that Matthew is going to tell us about later. So just while he's doing that,
I can't get a clear answer, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay.
Can't seem to find. I might be a bit more digging, but it doesn't. They're kind of used interchangeably, but then it says they're only taking action on Germany on Amazon. It doesn't say they're taking action on France. So
yeah, okay. Just a quick question there regarding elite sellers. Again, I can't see who it is. Apologies. I will be able to see afterwards, so I will be able to come back to you. New to SA and how to watch the course. Is it as a beginner to bundling? The order to watch is a bit confusing. Well, it's in date order. So what it will be is if you go back and look at the original bundling information, it will be going back and working your way forward. So all of the trainings are done on a weekly basis. But obviously we're re-going back through the bundling information because so much has changed, so much has gone out of date, so much, you know, it's why we do ESA in the way that we do it, because it keeps people updated with all of the changes, and it's not a static course. We do the live training, but if hopefully that's what you mean. But can you, whoever you are, sorry, it's not giving me the name. Let me see if I can see it on my other screen. Just drop me a quick message, and then I will go back through and, you know, show you and give you the dates to start from, if that makes sense. Fingers crossed. I'm not here next week.
You're not?
I'm not here next week. I feel like I'm off on a constant jolly at the moment, you know, holidays and whatnot. But it is, you know, it's the life we choose to be able to do what we do. We are going to see Queen next week in concert. So I'm going to be away, and it's on the Tuesday. So I'm not going to be here, but Matthew's going to be here with a special guest, and we'll let you know who it is at the time. And we're going to be talking about building brands, actually. So something a little bit different. Something
mostly off Amazon and eBay.
Yeah, mostly off Amazon. Yeah, actually, which we thought was quite interesting for this person to come in and talk about their venture and their experience in building a brand, predominantly off Amazon. And you know, Matthew, you obviously got a Shopify business as well, so that would be quite interesting for people to you know, hear the experience on that. And, you know, that's always what this group has been about, and listening to different experiences and looking at different platforms. So yeah, make sure you tune in next week.
Could be a good one. Yeah, definitely a big one.
Yeah. Right. Have a great week, guys. Really great to see everyone. Keep posting in the group, and we'll keep you updated on the we'll keep you updated on all of the lucid stuff. Lucid.
Makes you want to hallucinate.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a great week, guys. Take care.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.